Podcast1700 block. I'm your host, Lamar. I'm back. I'm the last guy you saw last time. I really wanted to come on a little early because I was trying to eat my a little later. I was trying to eat my tuna fish sandwich, but I ain't have a chance to eat my tuna fish sandwich or take my hoodie off or my hat. So I came right in here and got right on it. All right, welcome to the podcast 1700 block. I'm your host, Lamar. If you're missing somebody, man, just hanging there, Jack. It's gonna get better. And it don't seem like it's gonna get better, but it will. And this might be one of them days where it's just a tough day. But I promise you, if you keep living, keep praying, and listen, that's gonna get better. So, all right, so I got a couple things I want to talk about, of course, because it's a podcast, so I'm gonna be talking. Um, so uh let's go with this day in Black history. We'll see what's jumped off this day in Black history. All right, let me see. February 25th, 1870. Rhode Island reveals was settled as the first African-American. Rhodes reveals was seated as the first Afro-American in U.S. Senate representing Mississippi during the Reconstruction. Milestone occurred after a 48-8 vote, overcoming the opposition that argued Black Americans were not citizens until the 14th Amendment. So that's what went on. And let me see what else had. 1889. Niagara Jim born computer scientist Philip Emerald was rewarded a gold. It was called a Gold Bell Prize for performing the world's fastest computer competition at 3.1 billion calculations per second. In 1870, following his swearing in, revealed became key voice for the civil rights, including defending legislation against school districting. So pretty good dude, man. Pretty good dude. Let's see. Let's see what else went on. All right, so that was good. So that's your little Black history note. Let's go to the State of the Union. Okay, so the president talked about a lot of rhetoric, a lot of giving out medals and a lot of old goofy stuff, man, and not really giving to the people's concern, which is high cost for prescriptions, everyday living, everyday jobs, everyday economics, gas. Gas is still high. Food costs is high. Unemployment is off the roof. Medication, prescriptions, basic stuff and basic living is just high, man. People at an edge, people can't find work, people can't get to work, people that lost their jobs. So it's really a mess. President tried to paint the picture that everything is okay and the economy is good when technically the economy is bad. And it's bad to the point where it's really bad. And a lot of people suffering from those. They got rid of those and they so happy that they made people suffer because a lot of people needed those, man. It was a lot of good jobs over there. It was a lot of government jobs, a lot of people, educated people, like not people who went to school and people who worked in the government for years. They lost their darn job. Over 300 some thousand black women lost their position. And it was some just people. And it doesn't really matter. You know, I try to get away from a whole bunch of black and white because people, just people, man. People need their job. You know, Lord knows people need one. Um, and it doesn't really matter what color they are. I mean, all people, you have people of a different descent. I don't know why this administration they try to put everybody against each other, black, white, Mexican, it's like if you're not of a certain color, with these people, man, you just don't belong here. When actually it takes everybody to make a country. It doesn't take no one nationality to make America. America was already great. God damn it. America been great. It's one of the greatest countries in the world. He talks about he's going to make the country great. He just want to make it. He just want to put cream in the coffee like they did in D.C. He just want to put cream in it so it won't be chocolate no more. That's all. And that's another form of whitewash. So as of February 2026, the U.S. economy showed a solid continuous growth of 2.2% in 25, with a low unemployment and a strong stock market through the face allegations, infractions, pressure. While the Federal Reserve is optimistic, consumers' sentiments remain mixed due to high price on necessities like food, deposit, wage growth, outpacing inflation in nearly 3 years. Right. So in 25, it was good. The labor market unemployment low through job gain has been described as moderate, which I don't understand. Now you got to remember, the person that was doing the jobs report, they got rid of because Trump said that the person was telling the story and the shit wasn't right. Well, actually, it was right. So I think that person is actually still fighting for their job, or they might have got their job back. Need to come back on that. But I know it was a big thing about the jobs report and the person that was doing stuff behind it for the economy, because they gave a report. He didn't like that person. While down from peak levels, inflation remains elevated, causing consumers frustration, particularly with grocery prices, beef, over 16% year over year. The Federal Reserve has maintained interest rates shifting away from rapid cuts as they view the certain move stable and solid economic situation. Many consumers are persistent about high costs despite the overall positive micro cosmetic figures. I mean, you got to remember when the people at the helm of write reports for the president, they always gonna make it seem like or make it look good, but it's really this shit is falling from the seam, man. I mean, just look at it. I mean, they say one thing, but the shit falling apart. So let's see what happened behind the scene. Behind the scene, on the president in February, 2026 State of the Union behind the scene, actions involving a nearly 2 hour highly theatrical and at times combative event. Key aspects included theatrical and improved movements like awarding medals, a long, often sleepy and divided chamber, intense in-person criticism, and of Supreme Court justice overturned, and primarily family attendance, according to reports from the WEBA and BBC. So, Trump delivered his longest ever speech, often going off script, slamming Democrats sick and elections, meddling, thrived, according to the New York Times. He used a platform for honor military members as U.S. Olympic hockey team acts as a part of a game show, part cage match. So he used them as pawns. So, and talks about in the report that all the people that he gave medals to, all the people he called out, he used them as pawns. He used them as to make it seem like he really did something. He didn't do shit. Them damn people did. And the medals aren't for that. Those medals basically are for heroes, people who did shit, people who, they special medals. And you just don't get them medals out, right? Oh, this fuck just crazy, man. While supporters chanted 4 more years, many Democrats opt to skip the event, leaving no table, empty seats. So there was a lot of seats empty. I think like 100 or some. I think like 84 Democrats didn't show up, plus more. I can get them numbers for you. As the speech stretched close to the QL members in the chamber were describing as visibly tired, with attendants yawning and propping up their heels, and taking notes. Despite the presence of the Epstein survivors, Trump did not mention the Epstein files, but did heavily criticize the Supreme Court for recent traffic rulings, according to the CBS Morning News. Families and staff, the first family was in full attendance when the speech was tailored to frame the economic situation as a turnaround for the ages, aiming to win over voters ahead of the upcoming elections, according to the BBC report in New York. Only way them bitches win if they cheat. That's the only reason. He brought Melania Trump up. I don't know why, because she's not a superstar. I told you where she came from. She was a high-class call girl. He met her through the Epstein files and wound up marrying her. That's how he really met her ass. She was a call girl in New York. And Trump was young, and he met her. She was a call girl working in a club. He met her, and that's how they got married. And her ass don't belong here. So, I ain't saying she's some trash, because I kind of like Melania, right? Because she mind her business. She don't get no political stuff. He ain't even smile. When he called her name, he had the look of disgust on her face, like, this nigga don't know. I'm just with you, yo, and I don't even know why. Like, she don't support him. I hardly ever see them hold hands. I mean, maybe but, when you look at her, she don't look like she happy. It look like she in the game, but don't look like she really want to be in the game. I think one of the reasons she with him is just because for the disgust. They don't even sleep together. They don't live in the White House. He in Mar-a-Lago. She's someplace else with the kids. Like, she just don't look happy to me. Now, ain't none of my business. I'm just telling you, but I kind of like her because she mind her business. She don't say nothing. She don't get nobody way. Whatever she do, she do. It don't look like she support them or none of that. She running up there keying. She don't mess with a whole bunch of people, and she kind of stick to herself. And she always kind of been like that. You know what I mean? So they was chanting, what about the Epstein files? What about the Epstein files in the audience? And maybe you couldn't hear them. but they was chanting, you know. A couple people had got up. Um, a couple people was really pissed off, but what happened was by the president having the mic, he could overtalk everybody, and so that's what happened. Um, I got my homework over here, and I'm trying not to erase it. As far as the Epstein files, I don't know when they're gonna open them Epstein files. Um if they open them, right, but they had a deadline to open up them files. And so let's see. What was the deadline to open up the Epstein files? Let's check it out. Let's see what it was. The deadline for the Department of Justice to release the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, it was December 19th of 2025. So you see what it is now. And when I talked about it, I said that, well, I had commented on, I knew they wasn't going to release them because there's too much stuff in them, man. It's too many people. But like I said before, same thing they locked Puffy and R. Kelly up for. It's the same stuff that they did, but they just a different color and they ain't going to jail. Now, it's a couple of people that's under investigation. The law deal was set by Jeffrey Epstein. It was signed into law by Trump. Of course, he had to sign it because he ain't had no choice. He signed it just to make it look good. He signed it because he had to, because he was under pressure. But he prolonged, and the DOJ got the Department of Justice, which the Republicans run the DOJ. So you already know what happened. They held them. They misprinted them. Some of them got lost, and they still didn't send them. And I guess you can't make them send them. I mean, you can subpoena to make them send them and send their ass to court. And that's probably something that they already done in this process. And the process got to get to the proper people. So a lot of times it doesn't look like anything is being done. But like I say, they great ones for manipulation and they prolong stuff. And then there's a lot of stuff we just don't get. We get some of it and some of it we don't get because there's a lot of stuff that go on that don't even make the news, man, when it comes to these dudes. You got to remember who we're dealing with. We're dealing with some of the most powerful people in the world, and it's hard to get their business. Man, they got the best lawyers in the world, and then there's so many people. You know, money rule the world. Some people can do whatever they want and never get charged for it. So the deadline, told you when the deadline was November 19th. The president, it passed in Congress, and the president signed into law on November 19, 2025. The law required the DOJ make public all federal, unclassified, and non-sensitive documents within 30 days. See, that shit ain't happened. That shit was in 2025. You see what it is now. All right, while the DOJ began releasing the files on December 19, 2025, the deadline, they did not release the full files and criticism from the lawmakers and the victims. A significant batch of apparently 3 million pages of the document was released on January 3rd, 2026, which the DOJ signed would be the final release issue. The DOJ missed the initial December deadline, cited that they needed to review and read back the documents and protect the privacy of the victims. The release files contain a wide range of materials, including flight log photos, emails, and in the after release mentions of several high-profile individuals. They ain't gonna release that. They're gonna try to get around it, but a new administration won't get to them. So the files out there, but they don't want to release them because the people, man, there's some high-class people in the file. But my thing is, if you done something wrong, you're gonna send Puffy and Kelly, and you gotta send anybody else to jail. Everybody gotta go. So let's see. Let's see who. So let's see who is under investigation already for the Jeffrey Epstein file. So you know they locked up the Prince. There was another dude. There was another guy in France. Who's under investigation for the Jeffrey Epstein file? There was a guy. There was a guy, man. There was a guy that just walked in. The Prince Andrew, formerly Prince Andrew, arrested on February 19, 2026 for suspicion of misconduct in the public office regarding illegal sharing of confidential documents with Jeffrey Epstein. Serving as a UK trade envoy in the 2010, he was released after 11 hours and has not been formally charged. So they locked him up, but they ain't charged. A Norwegian Prince Minister charged with arranging corruption in February 2026 following disclosure in the files about his close relation with Jeffrey Epstein, including trips funded by the financier. That's the dude Jaglin. The boy Peter Mandelson. He's a British politician and a former UK business secretary who resigned after the House of Lords in February 2026 at the file suggested he shared confidential government information with Epstein. The UK Cabinet Secretary is investigating these emails. Mona Jolie and Pearlie Rod Larsen, a former Norwegian ambassador to Jordan, Iraq, and her husband, and they under investigation in the Norwegian police regarding financial dealings with Epstein, including report that they were left $10 million in his will. Yeah, hey, I'll be under investigation too. If you leave me $10 million in your will, goddamn it, and I own the island, and I did whatever I wanted to on the island, and you left me $10 million after you left, after you died. Yeah, I wonder what that sucker will look like. Jack Lang, a former French cultural minister and under investigation by the National Finance Protector's Office in France regarding a company set of joining by his daughter and Epstein. So him and his daughter had something going on. New Mexico's Zorro Ranch state's attorney reportedly a criminal inquiry into the Epstein New Mexico ranch filing allegations in the new files about indecent at the property. So this nigga was probably walking around naked. And so they got his ass on picture. Les Waxner, he's a billionaire who employed Epstein as a money manager, was named as a co-conspiracy in the 2019 FBI document and trans files before Congress in February 2026 regarding his ties. Thomas Pretzler, he's the chairman of the Hyatt Hotel, stepping down in February 2026, cited terrible judgment in his long association with Jeffrey Epstein. Sultan Ahmad by Sultan Ahmad bin Salima. He's a businessman replaced as a co-chair of the DP World After Files show extensive correspondence, including references to sexual massages. So he was getting a bunch of massages. Like, there's a couple people on here. Catherine Rumela, former White House counselor and top lawyer at the Goldman Sachs, resigned following relationships of a close long-term relationship with Epstein. Larry Summers, a former Harvard University president, stepped down from the university role in 2025 following disclosure after his ties with Epstein. Howard Lutnick, current U.S. Commissioner Secretary, he testified regarding 2012 visit Epstein Island, facing scrutiny for contradicting prior claims after he cut ties with Epstein. Let me see who else on here. Missing files and investigations by the NRP, the NPR, and reported at CNN on February 2014, 15, and 2024, 25, and 26, revealing that the Department of Justice allegedly withhold dozens of FBI records, including interviews related to allegations against. Can I call you back? Against allegations against President Donald Trump. Maxwell, her name is Ghislaine Maxwell, currently serving a 20-year prison sentence on sexual trafficking. So that was the girl. It was a girl with them, broad, but she was like a missus. And they gave her 20 years, but she was in a maximum, and they took her down to a minimum. They took her to a minimum, and nobody know why they took her to a minimum, right? But they took her ass to a minimum prison and didn't tell nobody. So it's just a brief little something, right? I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get back with you, but they moved her. Her name is Les Waxner, a former chief executive of Retail Contribution Secretary for a long-time relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, including trapping the financial and merges his future. One FBI documents and the file named Mr. Waxner as a co-conspiracy, though he have not been charged in the crime. His allegations was one of the people that she trafficked within Mr. Epstein's circle. Waxner has denied wrongdoing, of course, and has said he broke his ties with Epstein in 2007. He also accused Mr. Epstein stealing money from him. He answered questions before members of Congress during a 5-hour disposition in Ohio. This was in February. So it's been a couple people Jeffrey Epstein, close friend, tries to commit suicide. It was a guy, Lucas Bro Epstein, associate, found dead in Paris. That was in 2022. They found him dead. But it's another guy. I think he's a Frenchman. he tried to commit suicide. Let me see if I can find it. Jeffrey Epstein, longtime friend, tried to commit suicide. I might can't find it. I'll find it. I'll find it. When I find it, I'll let you know. So the Epstein files is, man, like, listen, Epstein files heavy. And they don't want that information to get out, and they trying to hide that information, man. But I'm trying to explain it to you. When the new administration come in, yeah. How many Democrats was missing from the speech last night? When this new administration come in, and we get the right people at the helm, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess, man, because the president tried to go against the Supreme Court, man. Let me explain something to you about the Supreme Court. You don't want to play with the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court has the power, right? How much power does the Supreme Court have? The U.S. Supreme Court holds significant power as the final arbiter of law, with the attorney to declare federal, state, and local laws of executive actions unconditional through judicial review. It acts as the court last resort, protecting civil rights, resolving disputes between state, and ensuring branches of government stay within their constitutional limits, which means that the president says that he is over top of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court justice. Let me see something right quick. Supreme Court justice. I'm trying to tell you, man, them people, Supreme Court got the power. Supreme Court. How much power does the Supreme Court actually have? Supreme Court holds significant power as the final. So whatever they say, it go. Nobody has more power than the Supreme Court. None. Nobody. The court can declare action of Congress, state law, and executive action unconstitutional. So they said that the tariffs was unconstitutional. Listen to me, because this is my last segment. They have the final say as the highest court. Its decision on constitutional matters are final, binding law courts and the nation. The court hears appeals from law, federal, state, and courts, but has the original justification to specific cases such as disputes between states, and interprets and Constitution to protect civil rights, the liberty action as a check on morality rules, right? Or so they had the last check on rules. The court rules on the executive branch to enforce its decision. Congress can relate the court's appeal justification, and through the amendment process after the Constitution affects overturned decisions, justice and nominations by the president, and conflict by Senate sharing court's ideology. The court chooses what cases to hear, typically 100 to 150 out of thousands, limits its immediate impact for the legal landslide. While the decision of the monumental to course actions power is blamed within the system, and checks and balances require the corporations to our government branches for long-term effectiveness. You can't play with them motherfuckers. You can't play with them. The best known power of the Supreme Court is judicial review. The ability to court or declare legislation or executive actions and violations to the Constitution is not found within the text of Constitution itself. The court established its doctrine in the case of Merle B. Madison, 1803. So let's see. Only the Supreme Court itself can directly overturn its own constitutional rule. But Congress, through constitutional amendments or over statutes in the state VIA, they still can't do it. They can't do it. They still can't do it. And the only way they can't do it. Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. Who can overturn the decision of the Supreme Court? Ain't nobody can. The late Supreme Court rules as a constitutional amendment, while Scott's decision after final, they can be reversed if the court takes up a new case. Nobody. So the president talking about what he gonna do to the Supreme Court. Let's see this. Because hold on. Does the president have more power than the Supreme Court? The president does not have more power than the Supreme Court. Rather, they hold different co-equal types authority under the U.S. Constitution. Checks and balances. While the president, executive law, and commands are military, the Supreme Court has the power to justical review and invalidate executive actions that violate the Constitution of federal law. Nobody can do nothing to the Supreme Court. Nobody. It says it right here. So while the court can restrict presidential power, recent threats shown the Supreme Court can also enable or expand executive authority. Checks and balances. The president appoints justice with Senate approval, but the court demands the legislation of the administration policies. Essential. Either branch intends to Supreme Court, but both positions the power to check others. Can't do nothing with the Supreme Court. So when he talked that crap about, let me see, the Supreme Court, the Justice implements the law and can declare president actions such as executive orders null and void. So the Supreme Court can declare the president actions such as executive orders null and void. So when you say it's an executive order, Supreme Court can say, nah, man, you can't do that. You can't go over top out here. So you picking with the Supreme Court, man, you picking a fight. You picking a fight because now you're going after the very power that could really shut you down. So it was like 5 of them that didn't come. How many people from the Supreme Court didn't show up last night? I think it was like 5 of them. Based on reports of 2026 Senate and the Union address, 5 Supreme Court justices did not attend, but they ain't come. They was like, man, we ain't got time for you. So, I'm gonna wrap it up. What I'm saying to you is the president don't have the power that he think his ass got. He don't have it. And he walk around and he talk a whole bunch of stuff about how much power he has. He don't. The Supreme Court got the power. So all that crap you talking about, you gonna do this and you don't go over top of the Supreme Court, you not. And you know why? Because you can't. Because it's all got to go through the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court say, no, it can't be done, it can't be done. That's why he pissed off about the tariffs, because he was like, man, you can't do that. That's our job. You can't go over top our head and do something without coming through us. We got checks and balances. So you pissed off at them, you might don't get nothing passed. So, welcome to the podcast 1700 block. I'm your host of the month. I'll go, been on here a little bit too long. I had a couple things I wanted to straighten out. Be back on tomorrow, but a little earlier because I want to get a little bit more stuff in, okay? Thanks. Appreciate you. Have a great night.